morning and welcome to your daily Gameface. I am Dr. Kim Lannon and I'm here with Lou Blasi. I am home today, coming to you from my home.
Home based.
Home base today. Lots of things going on.
Good. Well, I mean, it's better than the alternative, right?
Which would be
Nothing going on.
Nothing going on, sitting in traffic, being unhappy, those things. So, nonetheless, I am here. How are you, Lou?
I'm doing okay. I got my computer back from in the main studio, so
very cool. I'm so
much calmer now.
That's good. As soon as we started, the dog started barking. I love that. Rocky is barking.
Says, why am I on the show? I'm always on the show. Why not?
What exactly? Well, he's downstairs right now because he just went for his little walkie poo. That's the baby talk for the dog.
Yeah, why don't people baby talk cats, but they baby talk
dogs?
Oh,
I baby talk cats. Where have you been? Well, okay. That's just you. You don't baby talk cats. You don't like cats.
I have 2 cats.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me I don't like cats.
Just because you have to does not mean that you like them. So I just have to say, one, in the year of Rise, I had a wonderful Rising weekend.
Really? Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I have not been to Newport, which obviously I slipped last week. And then people actually thought I went to Winnipesaukee. So what about Bob's followed me to Winnipesaukee and I wasn't there, but I did get a lot of, hope you had a good time in Winnipesaukee. I was not there. But if you went looking for me, I'm sorry you didn't find me. I was in Newport.
You were joking.
I was joking. But
so you gave up the secret. So
I did. Yeah. Newport was exceptional this weekend. I have not been down to Newport probably in a decade, and I would frequent it frequently prior to that. And now I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to re-frequent this place because I have missed out. It was an epically beautiful weekend in terms of weather. I was at a wedding, another great event, beautiful venue, fantastic wedding food for the first time in forever. I mean, it was just all around yay. Place I stayed, yay. The weather, yay. The cliff walk, gorgeous. The opulent wealth that I always forget about those sickening mansions on the side of that hill that are just summer cottages for, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and such, are just insane. Lots of refurbishing, great stores, did some shopping. I mean, you only get to live once.
Looked like a beautiful ceremony. Looked like a beautiful wedding.
That's right. You saw my social media talking about the blessings of a beautiful wedding and weekend. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was just fabulous. And I got to come home with flowers. They kept giving them, would you like a centerpiece? Would you like a centerpiece? My house is filled with like beautiful centerpieces.
Are the cats eating them?
Yes.
Yeah.
we have had there were hydrangeas and roses and things that don't know the names of that were dangling off of it. I find them either in full pieces or in regurgitated pieces all over the house. It's fabulous.
Here's one thing I'll give cats. My dog has a couple baskets full of toys and stuff that we have to buy for him, but give the cat a bag and they're happy as hell.
You're the second person this week I've had that conversation with. I could bring home $100 tower with a $500 spinning wheel, and I give a box or a bag that came in. There we go.
Yep.
So why bother buying a toy? And I've got buckets of toys, and I'm like, I just want to donate them to a needy family. But that same thing will happen to them because they have cats too, and they'd rather a box. Anytime an Amazon delivery comes, it could be the smallest box, like a jewelry box. And I have one cat that will try to squish his entire body into like a 3x5.
They're happy as hell for like a month with that box.
Oh yeah, the box lands all over the house. It's awesome. So anyway, but it was a wonderful weekend. And I want to impart the fact that in the year view from last year and then following with Rising, resetting that mindset, integrating, making sure that you stand up, stand out, and you evolve. Like, you have to embrace some of these things. And there were some adversity, and there were some things. I have a flat tire currently working on that I refuse to replace the tire. So I keep refilling it with air. I got it at the place I parked for the wedding. So it probably has a nail in it. So, instead of freaking out and being like, this is ruining my day. I can just keep filling it. Eventually, it's going to probably shit the bed, but
No, if you took a nail, it's a 5-minute fix. So just go have them do it.
I know I haven't been able to find the nail yet, though. I keep rolling it forward, rolling it back. You know the deal.
That's what mechanics are for.
It's what?
That's what mechanics are
Yes.
for.
Lou, one would have to have time in one's schedule to do that. And one would have to give up my car to then change out with another car. Like the logistics. I've got cats, dogs, people. I have things. So sometimes we have to just adjust with like gluing it together.
The lessons of this weekend are be open to opportunity and grab opportunity.
That's right. And I'm grabbing the opportunity to just pump my own air.
Okay.
So anyway, so this week, the show is going to move forward into our rise moment of reinventing yourself. So here we are on June 23rd?
24th.
24th. Oh my God. I don't even know what day it is. June 24th. I'm talking about the middle of the year. Here we are. We are 6 months out from Christmas Eve.
Stop.
Sorry. It came as a reminder yesterday that someone sent me in a TikTok yesterday a gift idea for Christmas. And I was like, oh my God, it's 6 months out. And here we are. So reinventing yourself, how adversity really shapes identity and growth. What a concept, right? So really about taking the rise and really talking about reinventing yourself. Now, if you've already been reinventing yourself, which a lot of my people that are listening and a lot of my people that come to me and see me are doing, like really focusing in and like locking in on how to reinvent yourself and how adversity really shapes the identity and growth of you. And at the core idea, understanding that so many people really think that they need to find themselves, air quoting there if you're not watching, finding themselves. But personal growth is often less about discovery and more about continuous creation. And so we do always talk about that. I mean, I always talk about like kind of just moving forward, but it's really about that personal growth is about discovery daily, discovery weekly, discovery monthly, whatever it is, and really about creating something continuous for yourself and seeing that every challenge, every failure, so to speak, every success, every relationship and transition contributes to who you become. I asked a question of my class 2 weeks ago to write a paper in their first couple of weeks of class of who am I? One, because it's a class on counselors becoming counselors, right? And really, when you're asking clients to figure out who they are and discover who they are, a great task for your own self is to be able to look and reflect inward and say, who am I? And it's not just I'm a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, an uncle. It's really to the depth of reflection. And so really looking at who are you by what contributes to who you are, and that includes all those things: challenges, growth edges, failures, successes, relationships come and gone, um, and of course I love the pivot points, right? Pivot points are my big thing. When you have pivot points, small, big, whatever they are, they really contribute to who you are becoming, rather than having like a fixed identity of like, this is who I am, right? You have to have that flexibility so you can evolve through and make an experience that has choices that you can respond to and move your path in a different way. Now, I know that was a lot to start with, but I really want to drive home that point of that's really the reinvention of self, is really how you're shaping your identity and growth through all the different things that come in on a continuous basis, because you have this field of vision around you at all times coming at you.
This is the destiny myth, isn't it?
Say more about that, please.
Well, you think personality-wise, your destiny is who you are. That's who I am, and you always will be, and that's what you're going to be, and that's not it. There is no destiny. Your outcomes change by your day-to-day decisions.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think
We're not destined for anything.
right.
We don't know where we're going.
Right. But we think we do. And that's the thing, is oftentimes we think we know where we're going because we have that 5-year plan. We have that 10-year plan. Like, I asked someone yesterday, if in 10 years you're in the same place that you are in today, are you going to be happy with the decision you make today about that particular thing? I'm waiting today to get the answer from this client because I had to pose the question because it's a big life issue transition that needs to be addressed, right? Super important. So it's about really looking at how to reset this and really look at it much more pragmatically and flexibly. And so I have some questions. We can go through them and answer them, but let's start with some questions. And this is what I would like to, you can answer them or I'm posing them to the audience, but resetting your mindset. Go back to the basics. What does it mean to start over mentally? Does that mean you go back to the beginning? Does that mean you start from where you are now? Does that mean you pick something and then just go from there? It really means about wherever you need to be to reset yourself in that moment. So, say someone relapses an addiction. Does that mean that they start over at the beginning and then don't count anything that they've already done?
No.
No, I do not see it that way. I see that we go from exactly where we were in the moment of relapse and move forward. It's not about going back in the beginning because that's not life. That's not what you do in life, right? So I look at the metaphor of addiction in that way. Of addiction, you don't just start over. You just start from what you've already learned and now you have to learn more. You have to
You
learn
have
from
more you have
mistakes.
more experience, you have more knowledge, you have more understanding than you did when you started.
Exactly. So when you say what does it mean to start over mentally, it's really about taking from where you feel like you got truncated or where you got stuck and moving forward. So if people have told me, well, I feel like I started getting stuck when I was 10, do we go back to 10 years old? No. But what we do is we try to make sure that whatever was going on when we were 10 that influenced us to be making decisions that we make, maybe it's relationally, maybe it's vocationally, whatever, how do we then move that forward, right? So that would be my answer to the question in short, right?
Plus,
Um,
that's a great starting point, isn't it? When your awareness of the pivot point,
mhm,
and so you can
right,
deal with it better because you've highlighted what it was that started you on this path.
exactly. And I think that the pivot point is so important there because it's about sort of cliche pivoting off the pivot point,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Being able to turn and transition off of that, right? So, next question would be, how can someone let go of outdated beliefs about themselves? Such a huge question that comes up in terms of the work I do and people in general. We get so stuck in beliefs about ourselves because they're core beliefs. We're raised with them, we are told them, we are implied them, we are assumed them, we are presumptive about them, but that doesn't make them so. That makes them outdated beliefs. If you have core beliefs that you're no good, if you have a core belief that you're a failure, if you have a core belief that you just aren't that person because you were told so many times, you're the fat person, you're never going to go anywhere, you're stupid, whatever those things are that you've integrated into your core, into the seat of your soul, um, you really have to be able to say that's an outdated belief because it's not true. There are no facts. Now, are you stuck? Maybe that's a fact. Are you overweight? Maybe that's a fact. Are you unmotivated? Maybe that's a fact. But your belief system that has created that is what has to really move it.
Well,
Making
again, we're
sense?
back to destiny. Are you what you believe you are now, or can you evolve?
Exactly. And everybody can evolve. I mean, everybody can evolve if they want to. So people
Mhm.
will say, can I get better? Can I change? Of course you can.
But people
Then
get
why can't
comfortable with who
you
they are,
change?
even the negative stuff, because it takes it out of their hands. There's less work. They're not responsible for the change. I can't change. I am who I am.
Right, and I hear that so much. I have a client who has a spouse that continually says, "I'm not gonna change. I've always been this way. There's nothing gonna be different." Unfortunately, he has an alcohol issue. Unfortunately, he has an anger issue. Unfortunately, he has a lot of those pieces that go with it, and she's not happy with that. She doesn't wanna stay with that,
Yeah.
and I keep saying, no one has to stay with something that's unhappy. No one has to stay with something that feels, um, toxic and deplorable, degrading, or whatever, but people get into that sort of outdated belief that a social outdated belief that I'm supposed to stay, I'm supposed to help. What does it say about me if I walk away? Well, you know what it says? It says you're strong, you're courageous, and you got the hell out of Dodge, because you don't have to do that.
And
But
he's
we're
already declared, you can't help. I am who I am.
right. And if you can't make someone else better, that person has to do it themselves. And you can't live in it if they're not moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Basics, right? So that leads into like another question of what habits, what fears or narratives prevent you from having growth? What a great question, right? Same question I posed to a couple clients this week. What habit is keeping you stuck? What is so fearful that you won't move? What storyline have you told yourself that's preventing you from growth? Now, oftentimes what I hear is the habits are more behavioral, like, I don't get up on time, I don't work out, I don't eat right. Like those are the things that are obvious. Fears are usually, I fear abandonment, I fear my kids won't love me, I fear being judged, I fear being neglected, rejected, all those things. And then the narratives that hold those in place are all the storylines that, like if I walk away from a 25-year marriage, I have nothing and no one will love me. No one will ever love me again. I liken it to the teenager that's 13 and the boyfriend girlfriend thing, that they break up and you hear both of them being like, no one will ever love me again. I'll never love the same. And they're
Yep.
13. It happens to perpetuate into people in their 40s and 50s and 60s. You get that. It just happens because it becomes the narrative for growth. Um, um, for growth reduction, because it's such a harmful narrative that gets really stuck for resetting your mindset.
Well, once you identify those fears, we're back to your 3 R's. Is it
Mhm.
reasonable, rational,
Or realistic.
or realistic, right? So
Right.
once you face what it is you fear, being a
Exactly.
failure in the case of leaving a marriage, is that really a failure? Is that reasonable? Is that a
Right.
reasonable
No, it's
evaluation?
not. It's
Yeah.
not, but that's what societal norms have placed on it so many times, but even that's an outdated belief system. That's not a thing. I mean, if you are very staunchly orthodox something, fill in the blank of religion, or if you're very staunch in something, then maybe the narrative has the validity only in the fact that it's a narrative, but it's not reality.
Right.
It's just a narrative. It's just words that are believed on a piece of paper because they're supposed to, because no offense to men, but man-made rules made man-made rules, and that's what people follow by. Unfortunately, women fall under that a lot, and it's a gender bias thing a lot of times in those particular cases, and it's really, unfortunately, a problem.
It was
As you probably
created
know.
centuries ago so men could do what they wanted to do and would not have to bear the responsibility for it. Because you can't leave me.
And that's such a good point, Lou, that you just made, and I'm so glad you said it, because yes, it's that it's that it's a con I'm gonna use it a little differently, but what you just said was so spot on, because it ends up controlling a
Mhm.
situation from being out of their control, they're being men, to be out of like, well, I can't be alone. I can't function without. I need you to be here, but I don't need you. I just need what you do for me.
Yep.
And the idea of you, the ideal of you, but it's not really about you. The narrative is not that. And so that's such an important thing. And I'm so glad you said it. Thank you. um, so how do you distinguish between your true values and the expectations placed on you by others? That is off of the jump off of what you just said, right?
Yep.
Is when we're resetting our mindset, we have to ask ourselves, what are our true values? And it's hard, because when I ask people, take a piece of paper and really put down, what are your values? And try not to it's almost like draw a line in your brain straight down the middle and say, what are my values versus what are societal, gender, socioeconomic status, demographic area values versus what are your values? If you can make your list of values and really stay to your set mindset of those values versus what the socialized norming around you has made you think your values are, and they've placed expectations on you of the shoulds, the woulds, the coulds, oh, you are going to have so much growth in terms of being able to move yourself forward and having that whole thing, what we started with, which is reinventing yourself, because you're getting to the core of who you really are by actually saying, I know what my values are, and they are not here. And they don't have to be with the other thing or the other people or the committee or whatever it is, right? Because they're so misaligned.
Well, this is where I always think weight management is such a great mental exercise and gives you such a great skill set when you get into it. And this, your demonstration here is the point you just made is that your doctor tells you to lose weight, your partner tells you to lose weight, your mother, your parents tell you to lose weight. That's one thing. When you decide you have to lose weight, that's a whole different game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
When it's part of your belief and not you're not responding to the beliefs of somebody else.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and to that point, like as a weight loss, like there's, I have a few people in my personal life that I've helped lose weight over the years, and they've lost a lot of weight. And over the past like year or so, I've showed pictures to them as reminders, and how hard they fought me on, because it wasn't a focus on losing weight, it was a focus on being healthy, right? And so, but now they focus on the fact that, oh my God, I didn't realize how large I was, just to be point blank honest. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you were going to have a heart attack. You were going to die. They've, I've had a couple people say, if I didn't do this, I would have died. And I'm like, I
They had
know.
to accept it as their own personal value, not being told by somebody. They had to accept
Right.
it as their own personal quest before it became effective.
Right. And what people interpret, and this could be in any narrative, whether it's about weight or it's about finances
Mhm.
or it's about relationships, is hearing it for what it really is it's not healthy. You've got to try to do it to be healthy, whatever is making you healthier. And instead of hearing, you're poor with finances, you're not good at your job, you're terrible in this relationship, it's toxic, you're fat, hearing the narrative for something that it is, which is, where are you going to make your mindset healthy? What steps are you going to take to mentally start over, to make the steps towards health and wealth, mindset wise? So important. And that's where, like, when we talk about reinventing ourselves, it's adversity is a teacher. Using adversity as your teacher. Why do some people grow from hardship while others stay stuck in it? Do you know the answer? I do.
Okay, tell me.
Okay. Okay. So I'll ask the question again so that people hear. Why do some people grow from hardship and others are stuck in it? It's resiliency. It's the belief that they have in themselves that they are resilient and that no matter what, they can change, or the situation can move. The um, the growth from hardship that doesn't happen is because there's a self-defeating narrative and a core belief that no matter what one does, nothing will change. The Eeyore effect,
So
right?
understanding you have control over your outcomes and the
Mhm.
willingness to take responsibility for that.
Right. And see, when I know, when you say like the willingness to take responsibility from that, I know people cringe because it
Mhm.
hits home. It's like a nail hitting the head going, because that means you actually have control. I mean, how many times, probably over the 30 some odd years I've been doing this, people have said to me, are you saying it's my fault? Because that's how they hear that
Yeah.
statement. And I say, I'm not saying anything's your fault. I'm saying you have control and you have ability to change this. So you're contributing to your problem. When you think you don't have any control over a situation, you are incorrect. You don't have control over other people, but you always have control over how you respond, how you react, and changing your course corrected position on the grid. But people then go, because then that makes them have to do something.
Right.
And that is adverse. That's an adversity issue in their mind. That's like, oh, I don't want to have to do that.
That
That's a
they're
lot
much
of
more
work.
comfortable with being a victim and not having responsibility for what's happened to them. It happened to me. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Right. And more often than not, it's almost always people saying, it happened to me, or it's happening to me. I didn't do this.
Yeah.
But the weather happened. I couldn't get there on time. I got yesterday. I get stuck behind school buses. I've learned over the years of being late, like especially in the morning, going to things. I'm like, I could leave an hour early. I could leave 3 hours. At the end of the day, I'm late.
Yep.
And I can tell you exactly why I'm late. I didn't leave on time, or I did leave on time. I got yesterday they let all the schools out early, so I did not predict that was gonna happen. I got stuck behind, I swear it was like 100 buses. It was 5. And I kept taking videos, sitting in nothing, going, I'm stuck. But there was nothing I could do about it. So it's like there's, in years gone by, I would have been like, oh my God, and people are gonna think. It's like,
Yep.
well, no, I'm just going to be resilient to this because there is absolutely nothing I can do about the fact of this. Now, others will get stuck in that. So I grow from the hardship of I do not have control over this situation. At the end of today, no one's going to die over it. I'm not going to spontaneously combust and burst into flames because I was late or that someone had to wait because I had nothing. I had no control over the thing that was in front of me. What I did have control over is my reaction and my ability to just be centered and stay flexible, right? Other people get stuck in it by being, people pleasing, overcompensating, being so apologetic. It's one thing to say, really sorry, I'm late. It was uncontrollable at this point because I couldn't do anything about it once I was in it. And being okay with that. And that's really hard for people with a stress level towards adversity because they thrive in their adversity and feel like, oh my God, it's happening to me. Nothing was happening to me. It was just happening in the environment and I had no control over it.
Well, usually that's because that's part of a series of events for them. They're late 100 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So
Coffee
it's
break.
hard to identify unnecessary late as opposed to necessary late.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, certainly I know people that are late on purpose. And that's not me,
Yeah.
It's like because they avoid late on purpose is avoid,
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Or one thing that used to tick me off about Dr. Phil is he used to have this thing, I'm sure he still does, which annoys me. He'd always say that people who are late do it on purpose because it's rude and disrespectful, and they do it as a matter of passive aggressive, assuming that all people do that as something to be passive aggressive.
Yeah.
I disagree with that. That is not a thing. But
Not
people buy
always. Not always, certainly.
I mean, certainly could it happen? Sure. But as
Yeah.
a general rule of thumb, which he made it, no, that is not a thing. So, anyways, moving along from Dr. Phil, which I could say so many things about. Anyway, so what lessons can setbacks reveal about resilience? And what lessons can be revealed about character and purpose? So, the kind of 3 things. So, lessons about resilience are that you're strong, you're courageous, you're willing to take responsibility, you're willing to take accountability, you're willing to keep moving forward despite there might be some adversity or some kickback from something. That also reveals at the same time something about how strong you are in character in terms of morality, your ethics, your values, your sense of integrity of own personal self, which is number 1. Do you have a good relationship with yourself, that your character is strong enough that any setback does not mean that you are bad or you are shamed or you are guilty of something? It just means we move forward, always moving forward. And then with regard to the lesson of a setback in terms of like your sense of purpose, people lose their sense of purpose all the time because they get their identity caught up in not being reinvented. They get their identity caught up in being one thing. I am my job. I am a mother. I am a father. Instead of looking at themselves as a whole picture of who are you, as a whole picture. Again, take a piece of paper and write down all the things that you are and who you are. You could be a chauffeur to your children. You could be a chef in the kitchen. You could be a yard worker on weekends. You could be a weekend warrior exerciser. You could be a runner. You could be a loving, kind supporter and compassion person to your friend. You could be a hospice person, even though you don't work in hospice. I mean, really kind of flesh out when you're reinventing yourself or you want to look at your image of who you are, really reinvent your resiliency, your character, and your purpose by putting it in front of you so you can see it. Visual is important.
I think dealing with adversity is the key. I think you see a lot of character of people, how they deal with adversity. Some people just turtle or hide under the bed or live in it or swim in it. And other
Yep,
people just start their change course corrections immediately. They start to recover from the adversity. All right, this happened. Let's fix it. Now let's make it better.
exactly. Because, well, that's when I say that people sit in their shit.
Yep.
People will sit in their shit rather than move it, right? So that's my phrase from the beginning of my career. I'm always like, people sit in their shit. Maybe that's the name of my book, by the way, that I'm 2 chapters into writing now,
Yep.
right? Is that don't sit in your shit.
Yep.
Right? Because that is true. Is like it's really about being viewed. I view adversity as a catalyst rather than an obstacle. Vast majority of people view life in adversity as being an obstacle. It got in my way, it stopped me, now I'm stuck, now I can't do anything about it, and there's a reason I have a job, there's a reason why life coaches have a job, there's a reason why all these people are out there doing what I do, is because we help people get it as a catalyst rather than just an obstacle. If you look at adversity and you look as trying to reinvent yourself as somehow being an obstacle, you will probably get stuck, or you'll have stuck points that you won't get past because you don't know how, not because you don't want to, but because you don't know how. And so you give up because your resiliency is low. You have a low threshold for your resiliency factor because you don't believe in yourself.
Well, what I've spent most of the year working on so far has been acceptance and radical acceptance or acceptance in general. Because when people find adversity, they think they can't change that adversity, and they can't. All you can do is make changes going forward and create
Yeah.
better outcomes going forward. So people just fight it. They say, I can't change this. You don't need to change it. What you need to do is be better going forward.
Well, that's the thing is people try to fight. It's like fighting anxiety. You can't
Right.
fight anxiety. You have to move forward and move through it. Same with adversity. Adversity, you can't change a circumstance necessarily, but you can change how you're moving through it. There's always ways through it. You know, people, I always put the staircase, 10 stairs, 10 stairs in front of you. You want to get to the 10th stair and you get ticked off when you get to the third stair and you keep stubbing your toe. So you keep getting pissed off. Well, in my mind, in my office, what I'll say is, go around it, catapult to the next one, go back one, step back, come back up one, like, find a way, reroute,
Pivot.
pivot, right? So, super important on that, right? Um, okay, and then given that, how have difficult experiences changed your perspective on life? Here's another thing. Using difficult experiences as catalysts, using difficult experiences as springboards to move forward. Um, Man, I have a litany of a list. That's a book in and of itself of difficult experiences in my life that I've had to learn from and move forward. And if I sat in my shit of the top 5 difficult experiences, I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
Not because I commit suicide, it's because they would envelop my mind. I'd become so depressed that I'd have either a heart attack or I'd have like that's what happens to people because difficult experiences can either break you or change you. And it doesn't happen by osmosis. It's how you get perspective on it and then what you do with it. You have to actually have the difficult experience and go, now what am I going to do with this? Right? Are you faced with the challenge of, like I have kids right now struggling with school loans, things have changed and now all of a sudden like they can't get some of their school loans because the things have changed. Well, what are you going to do about that? There's other ways to go about that. The very first thing I've had from a handful of kids is I'll have to quit school. Wait a second. Why are we in all or nothing? That is not how we
Yeah.
have to be. Difficult experience of you're getting truncated on some of your loans or you can't figure it out. Well, then we have to figure it out. We can quit or we can really figure it out.
Here's what
That's
happens. It's extremely difficult to change the present. This is about acceptance again, but the only thing more difficult than changing the present is changing the past. So many people are still trying to change the past.
Exactly, because somehow they think that if changing the past or being able to go back and undo it will somehow fix the future, but you cannot go back. You
No.
cannot undo. But people try so hard. PTSD is the notorious and quintessential example of people constantly are trying to go back and undo what happened to make this present better. And it doesn't work like that. It's about how you're moving forward with the PTSD or with the adversity. It's,
Your outcomes are the result of the equation of a series of choices you make along the way. You can't
exactly.
change the present. You got to change the future, and you got to do it by changing your choices along the way.
Exactly. Which means that identity is an ongoing process,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Are we
absolutely.
ever so it's are we ever truly finished? Finished. Are we ever truly finished becoming who we are? No. We are never. And people think it's so cliche and it's so but it is. Life is a journey. Life is a constant um becoming. It's a constant moving forward of who we are, and we are never truly finished becoming who we are. When we stop becoming and stop doing, we lose our sense of purpose of ourselves, and that's when people like fold in on themselves and become very stagnant and end up having, in Freud terms, we become ego integrity despaired. We become very desperate in life of like what to do next because we lose sight of our own selves, so we're never truly finished becoming who we are.
Well,
And so
there you get to your Eeyore character, and it's like, what's the point?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The point
um
is things change, and you can change.
Exactly. Anybody can change if they want to. And that's what I get all the time is like, I can't do it. First of all, there is no can't, there's only do. And if you say you can't, you won't. And if you say you can't, that means you're not willing to try. And people will fight me on that. What do you mean I'm not willing to try? I can't is the complete shutdown. I can't. I might not be able to do exactly what I need to do right now, but I'm going to try. It's not, I can't. And because can't is done, can't is finale. It's
That's
done.
fighting effort. That's just fighting the effort and
Right.
deciding you're not gonna make the effort. And a
Right,
lot
you're
of
not
times we talk about it, it's just changing your goals. It's changing instead of, "I need to lose 50 pounds," how about
pivot.
you eat right tomorrow,
Right.
right? That's all
Pivot.
you have to do. Yeah. Pivot.
It's just a pivot. And in pivoting, right, what you were at 15, what you were at 25, what you are at 45, what you are at 60, your identity changes across your different stages of life because you have evolved and hopefully learned how to adapt and become more resilient. Even if you came from a childhood with really poor resiliency, because you weren't shown it or weren't given it or you didn't have your yummy person emotionally, your identity changes across different stages of life, which means it's truly constantly becoming and evolving who you are, which is how you become reinvented. I
Mhm.
mean, I have students right now that I have in class that are on their second or third career change, not because they haven't been able to keep us, because they've outgrown the jobs that they've been in and they want something new for themselves. They want to contribute back to life in a different way. And what a wonderful way to evolve and change and give back to something, and resiliency. It's like so great to see people who do that,
And so
and
many refer to their upbringing and say, "That's why I am what I am," their upbringing, but at a certain point, ideally, you become your own parent. You reparent yourself
Mhm.
at a certain point if you're
And you
healthy.
have to, because
Yeah.
people wait, Lou. People wait for people to reparent them, and counselors can help reparent. Counselors can help you get you on it. But essentially, you have to be able to know yourself at least well enough, even if it's just a little bit, to soothe, be seen, be safe and secure emotionally for yourself internally to be able to then move forward and do what you need to do.
But you need to be willing to grow.
Yeah, you have to be willing to grow. And most people will say they're willing to grow, but they don't want to do the work. And
Right.
that's where the stuck point comes, is because is it hard work? Sometimes, not always. But the more you do the work and the more you evolve uh, with the things I'm saying, even today, specifically, if you heard nothing else all year and today's your rise day to hear the rise mantra, if you actually just start doing that, you'll move forward, you know? I think it's important to, I talked to a couple clients about always question yourself with curiosity, go into life on a daily questioning with curiosity. What role does your curiosity and self-reflection play in your actual personal development? So many people do not have curiosity about their daily life or self-reflect on what did I do today to play a part in how I didn't move or how I did move.
Yeah.
Life happened to them today, and at the end of the day, it's like, well, what did you do to help yourself move forward? And people are like, does every day have to be like that? Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It really actually does. Because every day that you don't do that, you're just doing the opposite, and you're doing that too. You're working at that. People are like, no, that comes naturally. I said, no, that comes as a default that you learned. You taught yourself how to do that.
Well,
So that means,
people have to understand that they have a part in everything. When they say
yes.
something happened to them, you had a part in it. Examine that part and try to be better.
And people listening here on this show today, people get so pissed that I did
Yeah.
not have a part in this. And are you blaming me? I'm like, no, I'm not blaming you. I'm giving you accountability for the part you played in it, because that's the only thing you're going to be able to change. If you don't look and reflect on who you are in the piece of the thing that happened, then nothing's going to change, because that's the only thing you can change. You have to be curious about what you are, who you are, how you've played into it, to be self-reflective enough to have personal development evolve.
Too many people, when they're driving their car of their life, when things get rough, they jump in the back seat. You can't do
Yep.
that. You
Or
gotta
they
keep
jump out of, the car.
or they jump out of the car. Yeah. You gotta keep your hands on the wheel.
You got to keep your hands on your own wheel and stop, and also stop trying to drive everybody else's car.
Exactly.
No, I always tell people, stay in your own lane. It's a great old AA saying, is stay in your own lane, stay in your own lane, stay in your own lane. Unless you're being solicited for information, stay in your own lane. Don't, and people cross over lanes. Social media is notorious. You
Oh,
post something up, perfect example. I'll post something up, just a response to something, an innocuous response. And I have a particular person that loves to just get right into my lane. I'm like, come on. So about 2 or 3 months ago, and you'll know who I'm talking about without saying it. About 2 or 3 months ago, I was not engaging because I was not in the place to engage, because I didn't have the bandwidth. Now I have the bandwidth.
yeah.
So I'm staying in my lane. But when they come into my lane, the lane has bumpers. So you have to put your bumpers up, right? You have to put your bumpers up, because it bounces them away from your lane, because you won't engage in what they're trying to do, because it stops you from evolving.
Yeah.
It stops you from and I think that's a great thing in life, is like, put your bumpers up.
Yeah.
If you don't want to call it boundaries, put your bumpers up. Right?
For the last few years, for me, my big thing has been controlling my mental energy, being very stingy about my mental energy. Who gets it? Who doesn't
Those are
deserve
your,
it?
those are your bumpers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Exactly. So 3 months ago, I didn't put any bumpers up. I ignored everything. Now I've got bumpers up, so I can engage it, so that I can address it, so that it makes me feel relieved, and also gives me personal growth, that it works. When I put my bumpers up, then it stops. Before it wasn't stopping it, and now it is.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have the bandwidth for it.
And
And
you have to
that's a
control your
part of
bandwidth to
it. What?
productive. You have to control your bandwidth and apply it to productive things.
Right. And so that's when you're talking about your identity as an ongoing process. It's when you do what you need to do, like me saying, putting up your bumpers or your boundaries or whatever, you're remaining authentic while you're continuing to evolve. You're staying true to yourself. So you're not sacrificing yourself. A lot of people, and I'll go back to women, a lot of women become very passive or submissive to the sort of social norms of people getting away with saying certain things to them, or implying things. And it's like, if you remain authentic to yourself just as a human being, regardless of gender, you will continue to evolve, both men and women, because you're able to, because you're going to be kind, compassionate, loving, and you're going to keep your bumpers up. And that identity piece keeps you on an ongoing process for your own personal development, which is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for other people's movement forward.
And just as a general rule, nothing on social media is worth your mental energy. Absolutely nothing. You can
No,
spend it there if you want to, but don't be forced into it.
it's just food for fodder, and it's entertainment. And when I'm talking about the social media, it's like the trolls. I have a particular person that has no basis for finding me anywhere on anything I'm on, and they love trolling me.
Yeah.
Love trolling me. And that actually makes me have a catalyst to be even more evolved,
Yep.
because it's like, oh, gives me it makes me rise to a higher level of intellectual stimulation of like, okay, I'll participate in this banter, but
That's
I'm
how
gonna
you deal with that adversity, right? Do it
do
productively.
it on my terms because it's
Right.
my adversity. Right, exactly. So, and I'm choosing to. I know what I'm participating in, and I know when I will, and I know when I won't. So, and sometimes it's fun.
Sometimes it is. Yes.
Sometimes my bumper is a little fun when I get a good bumper up. It's fun because I have friends on the backside being like, "Oh, that was a good bumper."
Well, voluntarily spending your mental energy on something is one thing. Being sucked into it is a whole nother thing.
Well, right, and not getting sucked in, like, that's the thing. There's
Yep.
the difference in terms of being able to invent yourself, and is years gone by, people, if you or me, I would have gotten sucked in. When you
Oh
get
yeah.
sucked in, you get emotionally invested, you get emotionally charged, you get emotionally pulled by it, and then you don't rise. You can rise when you don't have that happen because it's like, "Okay, whatever you say, moving along," you
Yep.
know? Um, so okay, so integrating growth over time, this next piece, right? Integrating your growth over time. How do you carry the lessons from your past, or what we're talking about, like your struggles and so on, to future opportunities? You learn from them. You become resilient. You try different techniques. You get a life coach. You read a self help book. You listen to this podcast. You carry your lessons from the past into the future by changing how you responded to them.
Mhm.
You put your bumpers up. You don't get bothered by things. You protect your mental energy. You don't engage in things that you don't need to. You don't have to react. You can respond. You keep yourself away from toxic situations or toxic people. I could go on, right? So that's how do you carry the lessons forward. That's how you reinvent yourself. Don't keep repeating the patterns of old. Start new patterns, or stay strong to the things you already have, right?
My favorite question to my kids when they suffered any adversity, it's like, well, what did you learn? Right?
Mhm.
You can
Good.
focus on what happened, which you can't change, or you can decide, what did I learn from this? How am I going to be better going forward? How am I going to avoid this and make this better going forward?
Well, and that's like the whole thing about people who are in addiction. Obviously, I always refer back to this because I have so many athletes and I have so many people that I work with that have either recovered or in recovery or doing the addiction work, right? Is is being able to move forward and not get stuck in that space. And going back to a few like moments ago when I was like, we can start new, or we can start from where we were and just we learned something. And what did you learn? And what did you learn about what you shouldn't do again, and where you shouldn't be, or what you shouldn't be around? Learn from it. You have to identify of how you participated in that, so that your struggles into the future opportunities don't come with you, so you don't repeat them again.
Right.
People are notorious repeaters.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're not doing that again. That's a great phrase. I'm just
Yes.
I'm not doing that again.
I'm not doing that
How do
again.
I avoid it?
How do I right, exactly.
Yeah.
And sticking to that, you have to have commitment to yourself to stick to that, right?
Right.
Um, and so
And by the way, it's not on the level of addiction, but this is why I think financial reform and weight management are just such great muscle building tools for this kind of mental
exactly
state. Because you
right,
get
exactly.
quantifiable results, which you don't get in life all that often. But
Exactly, exactly. I think that for people that don't relate to the weight thing, I think the financial so many people, more
yeah,
people than not, have the financial issue, right? So being able to really reform that, and what am I not going to do again, right? Um, because that puts you into the level of practicing what helps transform your experiences into wisdom. Because if you don't learn and become wise from something that's happened repetitively, or even one time is one thing, but if it's repeating and you keep repeating the same thing, it's really about, you've got to practice the transformation of experience and moving it into wisdom. Your forward movement of reinventing yourself is become wiser. I call it wise mind. Are you using your wise mind or your unwise mind? If you're using your unwise mind, you're going to repeat.
Adversity can become education, which can become growth if you look at it that way.
All adversity can become education and growth, all of it. You just have to you have to know how to do it, and if you don't know how to do it, you find someone that knows how to do it to emulate to get you there,
Yeah.
right? Because that is a way of that's a way of embracing change without losing a sense of self. People think that if they change, somehow they lose themselves. No, you grow yourself. If I'm embracing change and say my partner's not coming with me, that doesn't mean that you don't change and keep going. It means you keep going and your sense of self keeps going. And if they don't come with you, that's not your problem. It might be sad. It might be mourning and grieving something, but nonetheless, you embrace the change even without them or without something, and you don't lose your self-worth and your sense of who you are. You have to stay true to yourself. People will say oftentimes, especially times gone by, that, oh, that's so selfish. You're allowed to be selfish because you're protecting your ability to reinvent and grow yourself. You're allowed to grow past people. You don't have to bring the masses with you. It's not your job.
And we've talked about this time and time again on the show. Not only do you get resistance from yourself for growth and change, you get resistance from the people around you because they don't always want to see you grow and change.
Well, because that means that they'd have to grow and change too, and they don't want to. They don't want to. People are happy with the devil that they know.
Because it removes them from victimhood. If they see someone do it and it can be done, then
And
they have
people
responsibility all of a sudden.
as awful as it sounds, as people love being in their victimhood.
Yep.
It's easier, and then they pull you into the victimhood, and they pull their kids, their family members in with them, and it's really unhealthy. So given that, what does sustainable growth look like over the years rather than weeks and months? If you really listen to today's podcast and you really think about all the things that I've said, you're able to really sustain growth through reinvention of self, through all those different pieces of the little barbs of wisdom that come through that, because over the years they will just accumulate and grow, because your days will come into weeks, your weeks will come into months if you keep practicing that.
Yeah, again, it's just making it small steps and accomplishing the small steps and stacking wins. That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
That's what the
So,
change is, your approach, not necessarily out. You can't change an outcome immediately. You change your approach towards
exactly.
other outcomes.
And that's such an important lesson. So I sort of started the session today podcast with questioning. It's been lots of questions, because I think questioning with curiosity is an important way to kind of get to a point without it being like directing and being preachy and teachy. But so I sort of have two things. I have a thought-provoking question to give to people. Another one. So if every challenge you have faced has helped shape you and who you are today. Again, if every challenge you have faced and challenge has helped shape you today, what kind of person are you really consciously choosing to become next? If you truly look at that and really question that, because that will help move you forward. If you truly deeply reflect on that and not just bypass it as, right? Again, if every challenge you have faced has helped shape who you are today, what kind of person are you consciously, with intention, choosing to become next? Such an important question.
Yeah.
I challenge you to question yourself on that. I challenge you to really dive deep into that and really soul search that, because it's such an important piece of this particular podcast and life, and really reinventing to rise.
It's the basic point. Did the challenges shape you, or can you shape yourself?
Right, and you can shape yourself.
Yep.
Right, and that's an easy answer to the question, but it's not the answer for everybody. It's not
Right.
the answer for every one of you. You have to come to your own answer. That's the overarching umbrella answer, but you really have to look at that. So as I've said, as I'm getting ready to close here today, I have like a closing thought or a closing reflection. as I've stated sometimes before, but maybe in a little different way today, growth, reinvention is not a straight line, right? It's not linear. There will be moments when you outgrow old versions of yourself, old versions of other people's and relationships with yourself. You will question your direction, or you will face unexpected setbacks, all normal, which is supposed to happen in life. And so, therefore, the goal isn't to become a perfect version of yourself, because people try to do that and then fail. The goal is not to become a perfect version of yourself, it's to remain adaptable and flexible and self aware, being fully present as much as possible and willing to learn from something and somebody. And your identity, your self-worth, your self-preservation, your self-purpose isn't something that you uncover once and for all. It's not an all or nothing thing. It's something that you continually refine through experience and wisdom and reflection and action over time. Again, it's something that you continually refine through your experience, through your reflection and action and wisdom over time. And that theme can lead to a deeper conversation about your own resiliency with yourself and others, maybe, or your sense of purpose, your sense of self-discovery, and the lifelong process of becoming, which means that you are constantly reinventing yourself because you're constantly pivoting, because you're becoming more flexible. Even if you're older, when people say, I'm old, I can't change. What a cop out.
Yeah.
If you just listen back just to my closing reflection that I just gave you, you could be 90 and this will work. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it today, my friends.
All works, adapt, pivot.
Yes. All about how, as the theme of this podcast is reinventing yourself today, and how your adversity is shaping your identity and growth to make you the wise person that you deserve to be. Fire.
I like it.
So I encourage everybody to go out and try to practice this more. And this is going to give you a rise moment here as we are in the middle of the year. And we are moving on into our summer months, and you have the opportunity and the impetus and the real catalyst to have some motivation and to go grow. So
every bit of adversity is an opportunity to grow.
Yes, exactly. So I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast today. I hope everyone goes out and uses it, and I hear good stories over the next week about it. And we are going to be back next week because July 4th is coming, and we got to talk about like all the things about what that means for growth and rising for ourselves as individuals. All right, you guys have a great week.